Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Live from beautiful Jaipur, the Paris of the East. This is our Wisdom of the Sages Daily Yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and good friend, bestie, co-host, Kaustubha Das. And we are just pulling into Jaipur today, sort of all wiped out, actually. I'm a little wiped out. We just had dinner. I just feel like I got hit with the sleep bat. And now I'm ready to like snooze off. But fortunately, I've been fed glub jummins. I have a little extra enemy. This glub jummins just like perk you up. Rachel knows exactly what to put to feed me if I want a good show, which is like high quantities of sugar. And Kaustubha's in the other room. We're just playing around with the microphones today. So if you're new to the show, welcome. This is our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the book for resurrecting our natural inclination towards service to the divine. I say natural because it's described by the sages that bhakti is not something artificially imposed. Bhakti is almost like the ability for the child to walk is in the baby. You just have to help the baby along. And then all of a sudden it starts to walk. So in the same way that desire to give love and to serve is natural within everybody. Are you going to stop talking, Mara? I caught her just yapping away. Now, Mara's our executive producer. If you need anything, have any questions, or want to get on our Zoom group, because if you're new to this, we have 61 people live on Zoom today. We all see each other. We have a strange little Zoom community that text messages each other on Telegram all day long. And so if you'd like to join Zoom, email our executive producer, Mara, at Yoga the Sages 108. Wisdom.
No.
I get this wrong like once a week. I get it wrong. Wisdom of the Sages 108 at gmail.com.
There you go.
Anything you want to say about Jaipur, Prabhu?
It's such a beautiful place. I mean, it's very dear to us because the temples in Vrindavan, the deities of the temples in Vrindavan were moved here hundreds of years ago, and particularly the deities of Radha Govinda. There's a beautiful temple in the middle of the city that the whole city just is centered around. Thousands and thousands of people come every early in the morning, late at night. Everybody loves to see Govinda, and they sing these beautiful songs. And the mood here is like soft-hearted people, right? Like good-hearted people.
Soft-hearted, sweet, festive.
Yeah. Krishna Bhaktas. It's like,
yeah.
There's no, I'll be honest, there's other places in the country where it's a little bit more like if you're from the West and you're into Krishna Bhakti and they're looking at you a little bit like, who do you think you are? But you come around here, they're just like, oh, this is so great that you're into it. Everybody's really sweet,
It's warm and welcoming, and it's like a from all day long, from the early Mangala Artik. There's 7 Artiks during the day. Artiks when they offer the lamps and they offer the flowers and they offer and so they open the doors, open the curtains. I say, if you really want to learn bhakti, you go to one of these Rajasthani temples because the people there have so much passion. The first time I went to Govinda Dev, which was about, I was doing the math, I think it was like 1991. They open those doors and people just lose their mind. They scream, they cry, they yell. It's like the equivalent of what we do if your favorite band is on stage or at a concert. They're just screaming, they're yelling, they're throwing coins, they're yelling the name. It's what you do, right? Yep. If you go see a band, if you're like the New Haven Coliseum or the Staples Center or something like that, it's what you do if the biggest rock band is on stage. That's how they feel for the Lord. So they have that passion, and you almost get swept up in it. As if you were in a sports game. You may not even know anything about football, but everybody's cheering for the other team. You get caught up in their bhava or their emotion or their great pleasure they're experiencing. And I feel like if you really want to learn bhakti, watch these women sing.
Oh, yeah.
Just sing so beautifully. They just sort of like, and they're like aloof to public opinion. They don't care. They're not putting on a performance. They're just throwing themselves. And you actually learn, I feel like you'll really learn bhakti from just witnessing them come. And there's what they do. It's almost like, does anybody have a job here? Like every artik, they're all there. People show up out of nowhere. And it goes on all day long. anyway, it's a great little place. So we're going to visit these temples. Kaustubha Prabhu was mentioning. Govindaji is probably the most popular,
By far.
and
Gopinath. Gopinath.
Gopinath.
The very secret Vinodi Lal temple.
Secret Vinodi. That's Radha Vinod, right?
Radha Vinod, yeah.
And Gopinath has the person that found the deity, Madhu Pandit. They have his coat enshrined in a glass case, at least when I was there last.
Yeah, they do.
It was 20 years ago. Enshrined in a glass, and his coat is made out of, get this, you want to guess? Tulsi beads. A Tulsi bead coat. And a Tulsi bead skull cap. Talk about punk rock. It's like the original punk rock. You don't care what you look. You just want to wear Tulsi all over your body. That's what this guy's coat is like.
And the ladies in that temple, there's a small little temple, and there's always elderly ladies there. They sit down, they do kirtan. They run the show at that place. They do the kirtan, they play all the instruments, and it's always really great there.
Okay, so younger ladies listening, don't let this be the last generation. Once these old ladies pass away, you got to step into those roles, being at these kirtans, singing these songs, showing everybody passion and devotion and love. Yeah, it's great. The interesting thing that I heard, I've read this, I'm not sure if it's true, but the king of Jaipur actually had a dream that Govinda was coming, and he was building a house. The original temple, they said, was his house. And he had this dream that said that Krishna came to him and said, I am coming. I know you're building this house for you, but I want you to stay in this house. This is going to be my house, and you build your house somewhere else. And they said the king woke up in a cold sweat in the center of the floor. He said, Govinda's coming. Govinda's coming. And so he moved out of that house and he started to build that as a temple. And then he built this house, which we just went to today, which is the palace, which we posted some pictures on Instagram today. The palace, I guess what they call it, the city palace. And it's a museum right now. But he could open his back doors and have darshan, means to see the deity of Govindaji. And and what happened was India was invaded by the Mughals, and they started desecrating and razing all these temples to the ground. That's happened all over India, but it happened in Vrindavan. So they hid these deities and brought them to these Rajput kings who were protecting them, and they're still here today. So that's why Jaipur has now become it was a holy city. They had saintly kings, and excited for the darshan tomorrow.
Beautiful architecture, just something nice about the whole aesthetic of the place.
They said it was it's a little, truthfully, it's a little bit of an Indian cacophony right now. Yeah. But they said it used to be considered the Paris of the East. And you can imagine a lot of these Indian cities, it's like they weren't designed for like loud, noisy buses. And I guess New York City wasn't either. Yeah, just like congested and packed. I don't know how the New York City doing it, but yeah, I can imagine this must have been incredibly beautiful before the engine, before diesel engines.
Yeah.
But anyway.
All right.
Let's chant our mantras. We're in. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead, Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badresu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloki bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service to the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timurandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Midatam Yena Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha. All right, reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 4, Text 13. The name of this chapter is The Appearance of Narada. If you're unfamiliar with Narada, he's the Bhakti master. He's so evolved, he travels through time and space. You hear about him in the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, the Bhagavatam. He's transcended time. Once you have a body, you're bound by time. Isn't that interesting? We're bound by it. but he's got the spiritual body. He's not bound by time. He can move through different planets. And he's always got interesting messages. He compiled a book called the Narada Bhakti Sutras, which is one of the also a very classic text on bhakti. So this is the appearance of Narada in the Bhagavatam. We know that you are expert in the meaning of all subjects, except some portions of the Vedas. And thus you can clearly explain the answers to all of them we have just put to you. That seemed like a weird statement, didn't it, Kaustubha? He's expert in all subjects of the Vedas. They're glorifying their teacher. But he says he's not good at everything.
Well, because in other words, he's not particularly interested in the parts of the Vedas that are materialistically motivated.
That's reasonable.
Yeah.
That's reasonable. Okay.
He's interested in the bhakti stuff.
Yeah.
See?
In fact, the purport, it says the difference between the Vedas and the Puranas is like that between the Brahmanas and the Parivrajaka's. The Brahmanas are meant to administer some fruitive sacrifice mentioned in the Vedas. But the Parivrajakacharyas, or learned preachers, are meant to disseminate transcendental knowledge to one and all. As such, Parivrajakacharyas are not always expert in pronouncing the Vedic mantras, which are practiced systematically by accent and meter by the Brahmanas, who are meant for administering Vedic rites. Yet it should not be considered that the Brahmanas are more important than the what's this word? Itinerant preachers. Itinerant. Thank you. Mara pays off that private school, doesn't it? Always correcting me, fixing my vocabulary. Thank you. Thank you, Papa Tony. Sending her to private school. Hey, by the way, Mara went to not just a private school, she went to a boarding private school. It's it's different than a regular private school. She boarded there.
Okay, thank you for that tidbit.
Yet it should not be considered that the Brahmanas are more important. They are one and different simultaneously because they are meant for the same end in different ways. Makes sense. The Puranas deal with this essence of bhakti, whereas the Vedas deal with promotion to heavenly planets. And you get promoted to the heavenly planets by the worship of the demigods. The idea is that eventually we're moving up. We're just moving up to pure bhakti. So Krishna in the Gita, his opening gambit is, all this stuff in the Vedas, this beautiful words and excitement and promises of satisfaction. He tells everybody, you know what? From the highest planet of the material world, and there's actually higher planets than Earth, according to the Gita and the Vedas. From the highest planet down to the lowest planet are actually places of suffering. Kaustubha, verse, please.
Abrahma bhuvanaloka punarjan. What is it? Abrahma bhuvanaloka
punar arjuna
mamupetya tu kaunteya punarjanma navidyate. But if you come to Krishna's spiritual realm, beyond this material realm, then you never return back again.
Yes, and it's interesting. From the highest planet to the lowest are places of suffering. Why? Because it's repeating birth and death take place. I mean, I think a lot of Americans or Westerners can get that. I feel like we've had a lot of our material desires fulfilled. And we're like, now what? Now what are we doing with this? We've done it all. We've been there. We've done that. It doesn't take much to we're not impressed anymore. Okay, we went there. We've been here. We've traveled around the world. We've been to Iceland. Come on. It's like, all right, now what? Am I just saying that? Now what, people? What is there to extract from the material world that will make me satisfied and fulfill my heart? Nothing. Now what? Oh no, I got a plan. Think it through. Think it through. Think your whole plan through. You're going to end up with that same phrase, now what?
All right.
I get that verse. That's a verse that speaks to me.
You like that one?
I do. I always like that one.
It's saying that even the fulfillment of the karmic path that's laid out in the Vedas, the 4 Vedas, even that doesn't lead to happiness. Even you go to the top because you come back down.
Because you come, and it's also temporary. All those great things you do, the cool things. Liam just wrote. I had a layover in Reykjavik yesterday, talking about Iceland. Do you know Liam's a famous musician?
You've told me that. What's the name of the band?
What's the name of his band? Liam. Dillinger Escape Plan. Listens every day to the Bhagavatam.
Nice.
Much bigger than my bands. He was much bigger. So he must have had some big show to play where he laid over in Reykjavik. And once he got there, he realized, big deal. Big deal. I'm playing a show in front of 3,000 people. Big deal. Been there, done that. Big deal. It takes someone like Liam, who's experienced material fame and success and stuff like that, to just go, you know what? I've done this. I've done it before. I'm here with Bob. Bob's done it too. You're in the Ghouls, right? Bob was in another big band from Philadelphia, South Jersey. The Ghouls. They just did a reunion, 900 people in the reunion. How many people would love to do that, Bob? Millions of people who go to Guitar Center and play guitars and sit there. They can only dream of playing with the Ghouls. One day I want to grow up and be like Bob from the Ghouls. Break up and then get back together and do a reunion for 900 people. That's like a kid at Guitar Center's dream come true. Bob's doing it. And look at him. It was a couple. Oh, I thought you said 900. Oh.
All right, forget it.
300. Okay. All right. Anyway, still, he's got 300 people coming. It's still something. But he's at this point where it's like, big deal. Big deal. I'd rather see Govindaji.
Nice.
It takes many births and deaths in this world to get to that point. That what is the big deal about the material world? Some people are still chasing the material world. They're like, no. There's hope out there. There's hope to fulfill my material desires. There's no hope.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm not saying there's not fun things to do, but to actually fulfill what your heart's calling is for, that's a spiritual desire. We don't get rid of desires. You just have to spiritualize your desires. That's all. Prove me wrong. Like that post. Prove me wrong. Okay. I'm going to continue. Is that okay, Kaustubha?
Please do.
Once upon a time, I don't know. Sutta Goswami, Sutta Goswami said, when the second millennium overlapped the third, the great sage Vyasadeva was born to Parashara in the womb of Satyavati. There I go. I hiccup burp twice a show. Right? Did I say that the other day? Everyone's like, the great sage Vyasadeva born to Parashara in the womb of Satyavati, the daughter of Vasu.
Yeah. So now we're getting the set. Now Sutta, the questions were asked. Sutta speaking.
Go ahead.
And he's going to line up. He's going to tell us how this Bhagavatam came to be. That Vyasadeva was, now we're hearing about the meditation, the thinking, the writing of Vyasadeva, where he was at, how the Bhagavatam came to be.
Also the father of astrology. I just want to put that out there. Parashara, the father of Vyasadeva was the father of Jyotish.
Thank you.
Once upon a time, he, Vyasadeva, as the sun rose, took his morning ablution in the waters. What does an ablution mean? A bath? Really? Right, Kaustubha? A bath?
It doesn't mean like a ritual?
I thought it was a ritual too. Took his
Mara? Does the Mara know?
ablution in the waters. Mara, what did they teach you there in private school? What's an ablution? Don't check your phone. I want to see if you know.
I don't know.
She doesn't know.
I'll check. What's that?
Papa Tony, what do you think about that? I don't know how much tuition was, but
Was it worth it?
she doesn't know what ablution is. Okay, get back to me on that, Mara.
The act of washing yourself clean.
I've got it.
The act of washing yourself clean.
It's a bath. A ritual bath, a ceremonial act of washing parts of the body or sacred containers.
Okay.
So like a sacred bath.
14 years of boarding school. She had to go to Wikipedia. Once upon a time, he, Vyasadeva, as the sun rose, took his ablutions in the waters of the Saraswati and sat alone to concentrate. So the Saraswati runs from the Himalayas at Badrinath. That's where his cave is. That's where Narada Rishi, the deities of Narada Rishi are. Parmananda was just there last year. Fantastic place. Tragic bus ride up that mountain to get there. And you went to Vyasadev's cave, right? Okay, here's a strange fact. Vyasadev's still alive.
Whoa. It's all true.
It's all true. Well, I'm just saying that the idea is that Vyasadeva didn't die. He's, what is it? He's a Jivan Mukta. He doesn't die.
Why should that be unbelievable to us? The mind is going to say that's impossible.
Oh, no,
Nobody
but
lives
I don't think you
5,000
see
years.
it. I think he's there, but you don't see him. Is that it? Have you heard that?
What? I don't know, but my point is,
What did they say at the cave? He's in the cave, but you can't see him?
He's there, but you can't perceive him.
Okay, you can't perceive him. He's imperceivable. Let's see if it says anything. It doesn't. But it says that River Saraswati is flowing in the Badarik Ashram area of the Himalayas. So the place indicated here is Samyaprash in Badarik Ashram, where Vyasadeva is residing. There it says in the purport, he's residing there. The great sage Vyasadeva saw anomalies in the duties of the millennium. This happens on earth in different ages due to unseen forces in the course of time. Purport. The great sages like Vyasadeva are liberated souls, and therefore they can clearly see past, present, and future. It's called Trikala Gyan. Thus, he could see the future anomalies in the age of Kali, and he accordingly made an arrangement for the people in general so that they can execute a progressive life in this age, which is full of darkness. It's full of darkness. This age we live in is very dark, right? So he had the idea, trouble's coming. Let's prepare. My mic was on. I'm sorry. I hope that doesn't sound all. Not my mic, my speaker thing. Anyway, so he knew trouble was happening in the age of Kali, and he took great precaution. The great sage, who was fully equipped in knowledge, could see through his transcendental vision the deterioration of everything material due to the influence of this age. It just seemed like it happened 150 years ago, you know? As soon as they started like building tractors and automobiles, it doesn't even see, it seems like it was a very slow, and now it's like faster and faster. What do you think?
Well, that interim stage is the Sandhya. I think we're actually still in the Sandhya. We haven't even seen how bad.
We haven't even seen how bad it's going to get. God forbid. How can? I mean, do you ever? Sometimes you gotta open your phone where it says the weather, when you see what the weather is, and just look up Bombay. It doesn't even say like partly cloudy. It just says smoke. Like that's the weather today. It's smoke. Like unhealthy air quality. It's like, what are you supposed to do? Sometimes I get these warnings from New York because I have this like alert on my phone, even though I live upstate. Warning: New York, unhealthy air quality today. I was like, all right, what am I supposed to do? Not breathe? Like practice pranayama and go underwater? Here's Mumbai. Yeah, check it out. Okay, I'm going to show this. I'm holding up an iPhone. It just says Mumbai smoke. The weather today is smoke. Isn't that sad? What are you supposed to do? We can't do anything about it. Just go indoors. Does that mean is cleaner air in my house coming from my carpets and my crappy paint that I use on my walls and my varnish on my tables? It's going to be healthier inside. What have we created?
Yeah.
What is going on here? Kumi? All right. I'm going to continue on. So he could see all the faithless people in general would be reduced in duration of life and would be impatient due to lack of goodness.
Goodness meaning sattva, I assume here.
I'm very impatient. Thus, hey, Kaustubha,
Yes.
it says that this Bhagavatam study is going to get us rid of Rajas and Tamas.
Okay.
When am I going to start getting more into goodness?
Just keep.
When is that
reading,
going to
Robert.
happen? When is the switch going to happen where calm Raghunath shows up? You know, sophisticated.
Sattva doesn't
balanced
necessarily
Raghunath. When
mean-
is that guy going to show up?
Sattva
I'm
doesn't
reading the book.
Sattva doesn't necessarily mean
I can't
calm.
hear you.
Really?
Yeah, I turned it off. Go.
How about now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Sattva
When,
doesn't.
when am I going to become sattvic? That's my question.
I think in many ways you are Sudha Sattvic, Raghunath, but Sattva doesn't necessarily mean calm, but it means that this is essentially how I understand it. Sattva means you're content, and Rajas means you're not content. You know, Sattva means I don't need to get anything external that I don't have. What I've got right now is okay, and I'm going to focus on the spiritual. I may be doing that loud, I may be doing that quiet, but I'm content in that sense. Whereas Rajas is like, I need external things before I'm satisfied. I need to search after them. I need to go and start trying to attain things that I don't have. It's a little bit like what you're talking about in the beginning today. You know, the idea that happiness lies beyond some fence that I got to get over. And as soon as I get over it, I'm going to find my happiness there. That the passion, that Rajas means I'm always thinking, it's over there, it's over there. Sattva means I'm good right now.
Okay, so I could still be active,
Yes.
impatient, intolerant, and still be
well, I don't
connected.
know how far you can go.
Greedy, lusty, angry. Okay, anyway, there's some hope in there. Thus he contemplated for the welfare of all people in all statuses and orders of life.
So he wants to do some writing for the good of the people because he knows that the spiritual time it's going to be a tough time for spiritual life.
Can I like dip into this purport, please?
Please,
Do a little dip. The unmanifested forces of time are so powerful that they reduce all matter to oblivion in due course. It really does.
Time,
Kali Yuga,
what time does. There's a force. It's like gravity. It's called time, and it just
crushes
wipes
everything.
stuff out. Yeah.
The last millennium. I mean, I still can't come to terms that I'm going to die. And the interesting thing is when people die, it's like, oh my God, he's dead. You know, oh my God. And then all of a sudden, 3 days later, it's like business as usual. If I die, I want the whole damn world to stop. It's like, let's just take the month off and let's take the whole year off. Raghunath's dead. That's not going to happen. It's going to be like, oh my God. Oh man, a few posts. Raghunath, hey, that was a great song. Oh, I'm going to miss you. Back to usual. You're going to forget me in a moment. It just happens. And it's just like frustrating that that's it. That's it. It's over. And they're all going to forget. You know why? Because I forget. We're just forgetful. The material world just like stamps us down. You have these things like, what's the place in Italy with the volcano?
What is it?
What?
Mount Vesuvius?
Mount Vesuvius? What's it called? Pompeii. Is that Mount Vesuvius? Okay. You actually got it right. And I was like, what? So Pompeii is like, all these people have lives. Next thing you know, they're like frozen in lava. Doesn't that drive anybody crazy? That we're all going to be frozen in lava, so to speak, in some way or another, and no one's going to care. No one cares about your knitting. I mean, I care, and you made me a great scarf, and it's really nice. But in the biggest picture of things, in 100 years, no one's going to care. No one cares. It's frustrating. I want my life to be more significant. It's not. I'm insignificant. Does it bother anybody in this room? Am I alone in the universe?
Let it go. You're doing fine, Raghu. Everything's good.
Okay. The unmanifested forces of time are so powerful that they reduce all matter into oblivion in due course, like Pompeii. In Kali Yuga, the last millennium of a round of 4 millenniums, the power of all material objects deteriorates by the influence of time. In this age, the duration of the material body of the people in general is much reduced, and so is their memory. The action of matter has also not so much incentive. The land does not produce food grains in the same proportions as it did in other ages. The cow does not give as much milk as it used to give formerly. The production of vegetables and fruits is less than before.
And they're all crap.
They're all crap. They're all monocropped. Yeah. As such, all living beings, both men and animals. How much times do I say monocrop per show? As such, all living beings, both men and animals, do not have sumptuous, nourishing food. Due to want of so many necessities of life, Naturally, the duration of life is reduced. The memory is short. Intelligence is meager. Mutual dealings are full of hypocrisy, and so on. The great sage Vyasadeva could see this by his transcendental vision, as an astrologer can foresee the future fate of a man, or an astronomer can foretell the solar and lunar eclipses. Those liberated souls who can see through the scriptures can foretell the future of mankind. They see this due to their sharp vision for spiritual attainment. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's an accurate description of how we're living today. This world is a mess now. Every day it becomes more clear.
It's a mess.
Yeah.
You can't drink water. We have to buy water. Is that crazy? How much for water? You got to buy water?
You can't swim in any of the rivers.
Can't swim. Yeah, you used to be able to just kneel down. Take a drink from the water from the river. Can't do that. No one's drinking from the East River.
What life form were you in when you were drinking it like that? Right? Let's see that again.
Some type of river drinker. Like a goat or something.
Something like that.
A lot of goats by rivers.
People used to be able to swim in the rivers. All of them. You could just jump in the river.
Just jump in the river.
That way.
You don't even think twice about jumping in the river.
New York City, they would swim in the rivers back in the 50s, the 40s.
No, it's one of the joys of life, swimming in rivers.
And now we can't do it. You can't even go to the river in New York City. It's like there's a big highway running past it. You know?
Well, how about the beaches? You can't go to the beach. People own the beaches. Go to Malibu. It's a private beach. You can buy the beach? You can buy the beach. What?
Yeah. Then you get grains, like you get bread. That bread has absolutely no nutritional value in it.
No nutritional value. Even in India, and sometimes in Europe, I've noticed this too. If you go in someone's kitchen, they have a grinder. I was in Vienna once, and someone had a grinder in their kitchen. I don't know if this was a unique household. In Germany, you see this? Any Germans here? Yes. Do you ever grind your own grains, Nicole? No, forget it. Okay. Germans out of the picture.
Kali Yuga hit
Vienna, they grind their grains. In India, they still do it. You bring your wheat berries, you buy your wheat berries, and you bring them to grind them, and then you make the flour that day.
Nice and fresh.
It's fresh. It's simple living, but it's fresh living. We just buy sacks of flour.
Now in America, they got these huge grocery stores. They're massive. It's like ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
And you go in there and you analyze what in this huge store has actually any nutritional value, and it's like practically nothing.
Like, what is there to actually purchase that you need a super Stop and Shop or one of these one of these stores that are so many? You need some fruit, you need some grains, right?
There's a whole huge row of soft drinks that are all just terrible for you. And they don't taste any better than like a nice juice or something like that.
They definitely don't taste. Yeah, you know what? We've just created stuff to sell people. We just sell things, and we just want to buy things. And we're almost like possessed by purchasing something. I'll be happy. Yeah. And we're almost like possessed by a consumption ghost.
That's what it is. It's the advertising is convincing us that happiness lies when we buy that soda. But it doesn't.
Like our whole economy is like running on this.
Yeah, and
once the card gets pulled from this tower of playing cards, the whole thing will collapse. We all just start eating. Food grows on trees.
Some of it.
It just grows. You don't have to. It just grows. There's no magic behind that. Everything's just growing for free. All you gotta do is plant it.
Yeah.
There's nothing to actually purchase.
And you know what, Raghu? Another thing. If you grow good food, when you eat that food, you're satisfied.
You feel nourished.
You're just happy.
How many times do you feel like, how many people have binge eaten salad? Nobody. You get to a certain point with salad, you're like, I've had enough salad.
Right.
Do that with refined food. You just keep eating it because there's no nutritional content.
That's the definition of sattvic, is you eat it and then you feel satisfied.
How many ever try to overeat figs or overeat oranges? You can't. No one's eating 19 oranges. It's usually like, I don't know. Okay, I'll take another orange. Now I'm done with oranges. Next. It's just what it is. Natural food satiates and then it has like a cut. Matter of fact, fruit has this interesting thing where try overeating watermelon. After a certain point, it doesn't taste good. Figs will actually start to burn your mouth at a certain point. There is like a cutoff.
What kind of figs are you eating? What kind of burning fig are you eating?
You've never eaten burning figs before?
I never burned my mouth out of fig
next
before.
Time you get fresh figs, I want you to overeat them and notice what happens to your mouth.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't Kaustuba. It was an experiment. Mara, it was an experiment.
Yeah, but the fact is, you know, when these natural things are there, to swim in the river, to go to the ocean, to eat natural, nutritious, healthy food, people's minds think, oh, everything's okay, right? You hit this suffix point, you're just happy, you're satisfied, you're content, and then you can get into spiritual life.
You know, I sent my kids to this great like nature. Now they do a whole nature homeschooling thing, but they were in for a while when they were at the Waldorf school. They have these great outdoor survival camps, and the guy leading is so cool. He's one of the teachers at the Hawthorne Valley School. They just do this thing where they go, okay, we're going to take a nap right now. Find a place in the woods to take a nap. And you just lay down. And that's what kids do. They just lay down. And you know what they also did? They had hay stacks. And kids would naturally just sleep in hay stacks. They're just comfortable to sleep in. Now you just have hay bales or there's hay spools because of the machinery. And kids had ponds. You jump in it's hot, you jump in a pond. That's what you do.
You feel good. You're happy.
Anyway, I don't want to get off the Bhagavatam, but we've created something so artificial and so fake and so toxic that you can't even breathe the air. You have to pay for water. You can't go to the beach.
And
the water tables are contaminated anyway.
And everyone's neurotic because of it.
And we're all neurotic.
And depressed.
And depressed.
And depressed, yeah.
I'm getting depressed just hearing this.
Oh, let's just quit.
Let's get back to the Bhagavatam.
Okay, there we go.
We need fresh water. It's like, anyway. Text 19. He saw that sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas were means by which people's occupations could be purified. And to simplify the process, he divided the one Veda into 4 in order to expand them among mankind.
Should we talk about that?
Yeah, you want to read the purport a little bit?
Well, I was just going to mention something. Maybe we hit the purport too, but I just thought, you know, he saw that the sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas were means by which the people's occupations could be purified. It means we all have a different inclination in life. We all have a different aptitude in life. And the Vedas describe that for each aptitude, there are duties that come with it that purify that work, so that rather than binding you in this world, it makes you a better person. And to give an example, and I may have used this before, but say you're really good at making money. Some people are really good at business. They start businesses, they grow them, they hire employees, and they're profiting big. Those people, they got a special know-how. They got a special drive.
Yeah.
But they're often prone to greed, right?
A little prone to greed, those guys.
Yeah. Even they're making more money than they need. They still want to make more.
Yeah, it becomes a sport almost.
Yeah, like
they even say things like that. Like, I don't even do that. I don't even need the money. It's a game for me. They try.
Yeah.
They write books on like the game of life.
Yeah, or like if you're a billionaire and you've got 10 billion, but you sit down at the table and everyone else has got like 30 billion, you think, you know, I'm not making enough here, you know.
Right.
And you don't mind that it's hurting other people, the things that you do to make more money. So that's called greed. Now, if you're that person that's the moneymaker in society, the employer in society, it's called the Vaishya in the Vedas, then what comes with that is the moral code that I must be charitable, I must give. And in that way, I purify my occupation, I purify my own mind. By now, I don't think of myself as this big money-making guy that's like a hotshot. I think I'm a servant, and it's my duty. I have this talent. Let me use this talent to help others, to serve others. And it begins to purify how you think about yourself and how you understand who you are. So that's what the Vedas were laying out. And what became warped is the caste system. It was laying out some brilliant analysis, personality type analysis that would help give moral codes to different people of different psychologies.
Well said. You are so clear.
Thank you.
The purport just says formerly there was one Vedas. And the Veda was spoken.
Yeah.
The Veda it was called Yajur, and the 4 divisions of sacrifices were specifically mentioned. But to make them more easily performable, the Veda was divided into 4, or the Chatur Vedi. And the Vedas, Vedas was divided into 4 divisions of sacrifice just to purify the occupational service of the 4 different orders. Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva. These are the 4 Vedas. Anyway, we'll stop there.
Okay.
The 4 divisions of the original sources of knowledge, the Vedas, were made separately. But the historical facts and authentic stories mentioned in the Puranas are called the 5th Veda.
That plays out as a very important point. I don't know, it's maybe a little technical. But some people consider the 4 Vedas and the Upanishads to be more authentic than the Puranas. And there's a big consequence to that. But actually, within the Vedas and within the Upanishads, it'll mention that the Puranas are the 5th Veda, so they're totally authentic. They're totally valid.
It's almost beyond valid. And I think because they are stories, perhaps maybe they feel like they're just fantastic stories.
Right. They're for sentimental people or something like that. But the fact is that the highest truths come out most clearly in the Puranas, specifically the Srimad Bhagavatam.
There's nothing higher than love. We're not trying to elevate ourselves to heavenly planets or
escape into the oneness.
Or astral projection. I'm not trying to do that.
Even though it's all real.
What am I trying it once or twice, but I'm not trying for it specifically. It would be cool.
You want to try it tonight?
I'm not closed off to it. Okay, I want to try astral projection. Anyway, after the Vedas were divided into 4, Pila became the professor of the Rig Veda, Jaimini, the professor of the Sama Veda. Vaishapayana alone became glorified by the Yajur Veda. The Samantu Muni Angira, who is very devotedly engaged, was entrusted with the Atharva Veda.
So 4 people are given charge of the 4 Vedas.
Yeah. And my father, so Sutta Goswami is speaking right now.
Yes.
And my father, Ramaharshana, was entrusted with the Puranas and the historical records.
Mm-hmm. Like professors of different departments, different fields of knowledge.
Yes. Ramaharshana was the one who was killed by Balaram, wasn't he?
That's right.
All right. So he was in charge of that, and then Balaram killed him?
Yep.
You say that like, yep, he was. He killed him.
He stepped out of line.
And how did he kill him? Mara, do you know how Ramaharshana Sutta was killed by Balaram?
No.
Paramananda?
Threw a blade of grass at him.
Through a blade of grass. Bink. Now, how could that happen? How could a blade of grass kill somebody? It's just Balaram's desire. It was a long story, but
Long story.
we're not going to get into it.
Okay, we'll hold that one for now.
Okay, Mara. Didn't learn that one. They didn't teach that. They didn't teach that at Emma Willard.
No.
Okay. Even if you stayed overnight at the boarding school, they didn't get that in there. Okay. There's probably a lot of downtime at the boarding school.
Well, a lot of field hockey.
Yeah, she was the co-captain of the field hockey team. All the Lee's learned scholars in their turn rendered their entrusted Vedas unto their many disciples, grand disciples, and great-grand disciples, and thus respective branches of the followers of the Vedas came into being. Question for Kaustubha.
Yeah,
Ever play the telephone game, Kaustubha?
I suppose.
I tell Mara she sells seashells by the seashore. She says the same thing to Bob. Bob says it to Nicole. Nicole says it to Kumi. Kumi says it to Eva. And it goes around. By the time it gets back to Parmananda in a full circle, it's like a whole different story. Right?
Oh, yes.
That's the game of telephone that we
Gotcha.
play in America. If you're from Europe, you may not play that game, but it's a little fun game.
It doesn't have to involve a tongue twister.
It doesn't have to, no, it could be just anything. But by the time it gets to so many people, the messages change so tremendously. I'm going to play devil's advocate. Your parampara thing you talk about, this so-called disciplic succession, the disciples, the grand disciples, the great-grand disciples. How do you know you're not just playing a gigantic telephone game?
How do we know? I mean, well, one one thing that helps, one safeguard, excuse me, is that the Shastra is still there. So that's not a phone game.
All right.
But I guess we would say that that's where the particular care is placed. You know, that's why there's so much emphasis on the clarity of the teachings from guru to disciple to preserve it. We see arts being preserved that way. You can still see it today. India is the kind of place where you can see that because it's got such a long history. You can see how arts are handed down.
There's also the Guru, Sadhu, Shastra.
Yeah, that's
The Guru. Yeah, the what the Guru says has to match up with this Shastra that Kaustubha is doing.
Yes,
doesn't change, and it's got to also match up with previous Shastras. And you know what also is? It
there's
works.
Experience. That's my
It's
point.
actually
There's experience.
experiential. It works.
Yeah.
We're putting it to practice on a regular basis. All these people wouldn't be here right now, like in the Zoom class, if whatever's happening to us, it's actually happening. And it's making us more attached to spiritual things and less attached and less worried and less in anxiety about material things that are just going to fall away.
Right.
What do you think about that, Kaustubha?
It works. It does work. I've seen it work.
It's working. It's working us.
Yep.
It works if you work it, though. If you don't work it, it's not going to work.
If you don't work it, it's not going to work.
Yeah, it works if you work it.
It works if you work it. If you don't work it, it's not going to work.
Okay.
I got that right?
Yeah, you did. I'm just looking at someone's message. I just arrived postpartum doula client's home, and I have to go. I love how people fill us in with what's up.
Was that
Okay.
Michelle Ventuzzi?
No, it's Sarah Oakley. We got
Sarah
a bunch
Oakley.
of midwives.
A lot
here.
of nice nurses and midwives. A lot of nice people.
A lot of people drive on Zoom. They're just driving around, watching the show, putting people's life in danger, but getting the Bhagavatam in, which I appreciate. Michael G's just decided, I'm pulling over and listening. Okay. 1 minute. Let me get another verse in. All these learned scholars all right, just read that. Thus, the great sage Vyasadeva, who's very kind to the ignorant masses, edited the Vedas so they might be assimilated by less intellectual men like me.
I'd be included in that too.
Out of compassion, the great sage thought it was wise that this would enable men to achieve the ultimate goal of life. Thus, he compiled the great historical narration called the Mahabharata. Listen to this one, Kaustubha. For women, laborers, friends of the twice-born.
Yeah. So because if you go before this, when this was purely an oral tradition.
Sexist.
Well, I'm telling you, it seems that it wasn't only just based on gender. It was based on, there was an elite. There was an elite. Yeah. That would learn Sanskrit and learn all this. So his effort was to spread it to the masses.
Okay. And it was, if you study like the Yoga Sutras, it was meant for the intellectual classes of those who studied Sanskrit. Now we have this ability where everybody can study to the degree we want to study, to the degree we're philosophically inclined, and you'll find that cross genders.
Now, Raghu, we got to tell people about the time.
Song.
We got to tell people about the time tomorrow.
The time's going to change tomorrow. What's this time, Mara?
It's going to be 8.
Zoom people, it's going to be 8 a.m. No,
Yeah,
wait.
8 a.m. 8 a.m.
8 a.m. Eastern time.
No, 8 p.m. today.
So, like, you got it tonight over
You
there.
guys are going to get 2 classes today.
Yeah, 8 p.m.
Okay, first of all, let me say goodbye to the podcast people. Podcast people, thanks for joining. We're going to join you tomorrow. You're going to get 2 shows in a day. Very grateful. And if you like what we're doing, go to iPod, whatever it's called, Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star review. Tell us you love us. We love you. Everybody on Zoom, we are going to see you tomorrow at, Mara says.
It won't even be tomorrow for them. It'll be today for them.
8 p.m. tonight.
Yeah.
8 p.m. tonight for you guys. Eastern Standard Time. So that means the Europeans are going to struggle like anything probably to stay up. But thank you so much for joining us. We're trying to make it work. We're traveling around India. We're trying to make it work. Forgive us for any shortcomings. Thanks. By the way, Yogeshwar, we really enjoyed having Joshua Green on the show yesterday. If you like that, so awesome. Thanks for everybody that wrote in about it. I don't know, Rada, what did I want to mention about Yogeshwar? His Facebook page? No. His books? No, there was something important we wanted to mention. Oh, his podcast. He's got a podcast. Just put Joshua Green, search in your podcast. He's got a podcast up
probably called Gita Wisdom.
Gita Wisdom. Gita Wisdom it's called. There it is. Gita Wisdom Teachings by Joshua Green. Thanks, everyone.